augmented reality camera tracking on your iPhone and iPad? This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by Clear. Get to the front of the line faster, safer, touchless. Get 2 months of Clear free at clearme.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, we aren't done with Spring Forward yet, Apple's event, because if you were paying attention, Spring Loaded, I keep doing that. Spring Loaded. If you were paying attention, you saw a product up on screen by our guest this time. It is called CamTrackAR. It was featured in the Apple Keynote, and Josh from FXhome is here to tell us about it. Josh, it's great to have you back. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me back, Chuck. It's been a while.
It has been, and I'm sure this is like a huge ego boost to you guys to show up in an Apple keynote. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. It's actually my childhood dream come true. I was called Apple Mac and Josh as a kid. So to actually be in a real Apple keynote, they showed my face of all things, which is amazing. To actually be in that, I had so many friends from my childhood sort of like going, oh, look, it's you in the video. So that was an amazing experience.
Yeah, and you haven't been gloating over any of them for making fun of you all this time.
No, not at all. I wouldn't dream of it. It's weird though, because you end up being a part of Apple, the largest company in the world, doing a video, and you're in there for sort of 6 seconds. Maybe it's probably under 6 seconds, sort of cut between things. But it still ends up being the most amazing video that you've ever been in your life, although you only appear for 6 seconds. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's such a validation of your product and what you all have been doing and the visions that you've had, and I love it. I knew several people in that video, and I tried to get in touch with them, all, because I think it's such a terrific thing. And it's not a case of ego. It's a case of you earned your spot there. You didn't. It wasn't a case of, hey buddy, let's have you on the video. You had to earn that, and FXhome has definitely earned everything they've gotten.
Well, it's very nice of you to say. Apple were tremendous with us. They they looked after us incredibly well through a process that they were well aware that we had never been through before. You can imagine the process that a company that size has to go through, but they looked after us really well. We had an amazing team on that side, evangelizing our product, evangelizing our team, and then just sort of hand-holding us through the process. So it was a real learning curve. It was really, really exciting, and we're just very thankful that the people inside Apple, who were very senior and very they didn't have to be the way that they were with us, but they were the kind of people you really hope that Apple actually are. They were creatives, they cared about their product, and they cared about the developers that make stuff for their product. So that was a really nice sort of understanding of who Apple really are as well.
Yeah, that's so good to hear. And of course, we're way off track here, but let's just go there for a minute. You're right. We all tune in, and there's been such a debate over, will we ever go back to live Apple events, or are they always going to be this slick, produced kind of thing? And to hear that is going on in the background, I think not only it's encouraging, it validates what Apple is doing and how they're doing those presentations, to find out that we all know it's not just slapped together, but that the people involved are being well treated, and everybody is staying true to their vision.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that care a lot inside Apple, and that's brilliant, because I think all of us guys that were developers being asked to do stuff, we all obviously love and care about our thing, and we always think, oh, when you talk to the big company, they're going to be like some faceless organization that maybe doesn't care in the same way, but that's not the impression that we got from Apple at all. They were just tremendous all the way, real characters, and just a love of what they do and what they stand for. No ego as well. You've got to think that if you're in Apple's position, you've got a right to a certain amount of ego about the things that you've achieved with technology, but there was none of that. It was a really refreshing experience.
That is just absolutely so good to hear, and I hope a lot of people take that to heart, because I think it's an important message. We were talking pre-show about just the situation we all find ourselves in with the pandemic, and the fact that this industry, maybe above so many others, is about the people. And when you meet people and you have those relationships, or in this case, when you meet someone new and find out you're exactly like you hoped they'd be, that's fantastic.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. I think a lot of the people there on the other side would have liked to have been doing face to face. I think, talking to them about how they normally do these things and how they work with developers, it sounds like they miss the interactions and the stuff that we're all missing in this industry at the moment. And I know we do at FXhome. We talked briefly about NAB. Obviously, a big thing that we would all love to go to once a year. And we've really missed that, and we don't, we want it to happen again in some kind of safe way. But we're missing all those connections that you, new and old, that you get across this industry, learning connections and friendships and everything. And it's just a shame that we're out of that at the moment. But hopefully, we're making small steps to being back in a place where we can do that again.
Agreed. Well, let's talk CamTrackAR. This is what got you on the Apple Keynote, and I want to find out what it is and let the viewers and listeners know what it is and what they can do with it.
Cool. Well, yeah, it's a really interesting app that until recently was very basic, and the idea was that the iPhone or the iPad has increasingly got better and better cameras on it. Very, very good for all sorts of work, particularly in a kind of indie or student base, or in a previz kind of quality for film production, just testing stuff out. In fact, people test like their different lens sizes and all of that kind of stuff for their shots on their iPhone with different apps already in Hollywood. So we thought, well, that's really great. But the other thing that the iPhone in particular does very well, and the iPad as well, is AR. So the ability to track the scene and then place items into that scene. So when you're looking through the camera of the phone, you can put a dinosaur on your desk walking around. But what it's actually doing behind the scenes there to get that tracking data is the standout tracking of any system in the world right now. So yeah, you could install a $50,000 system to do amazing positional tracking of a camera like they do when they do The Mandalorian. And that's, low end estimates. But the iPhone, out of the box, especially the ones that have the LiDAR on it, or the iPads with the LiDAR on it, has sub-millimeter, depending on what it's being able to track, accuracy, definitely way below sub-centimeter accuracy in tracking, while it's also getting a video feed. And we just said to ourselves, what if we could record the video and record the tracking data at the same time, so that then in a post-production workflow, say in After Effects, our own product hit film, or with Unreal, or with Blender, you have that data, so you know where the camera is and you know where the video is, and you can just drag and drop in 3D objects, and they're going to marry up and they're going to match, because you've got all the tracking data that you would normally have to get from the video using some specialist software, or using the camera tracking inside our product or inside AE, which has the problem that if it can't track the footage because it's basing it on the motion blur that you have in the footage, or that it's slightly out of focus or anything like that, you're basically in a position where you can't do anything about it at that point normally. So you bring it into After Effects, it can't track it, oh dear, throw away the shot. Whereas when it's on your phone and you can see how well it's tracking it while you're recording the shot, if there is an issue, you correct it right then. You take another shot. So you're actually in the place where you can correct it. And that led us to what we've done more recently, which is actually being able to add the 3D elements there right on your phone. So rather than just sort of saying, oh, I'm going to put an explosion over here and leave a little flag in the ground, or I'm going to put a helicopter on the ground over here and leaving a little flag on the ground, you can now put 3D elements into the scene on your phone, so you can really previs what you're going to do. Then we took it one stage further again, which is we added green screen. So you can then live key if someone's standing in front of a green screen and place them in a completely different environment, which is going to be the environment that maybe you're going to do in post-production, but you can see it there on the iPad. People standing behind you can see it too, and you can record the shot knowing where they are in the 3D environment, how they might be interacting with it, and change your shot accordingly. So yeah, it does a whole load of stuff now. We're trying to make it so you can make The Mandalorian on your phone. We're not quite there yet, but that's where we're aiming for.
Okay, this this is just ridiculous. I mean, we're talking about our phone, and you're talking about us doing something that Disney is spending millions upon millions of dollars to make, and it actually does work. I mean, it's let's face it, it's not going to replace Disney anytime in the next couple of years, but for those of us who would love to play with this stuff and find out kind of how it's done and maybe integrate some things into our own projects, this is borderline amazing.
Well, yeah, we've got every level of user trying it. So my level of user, or the sort of, the indie filmmaker, it's everything you need. You can record the footage, it's still good enough quality footage, and then you go back to your post-production software and you can add in all the different effects you want. But we've also got people on Disney productions, in fact, although I probably shouldn't say that, on productions, various productions in Hollywood that are on 400, 500 foot wide green screen or blue screen sets in a location, who are then showing other members of the team, okay, there's going to be another building over there, there's going to be some trees over there, and they're doing that on the camera and explaining to the people on set what they're, they can be walking around. If you looked over there, you'd see this. If you looked over there, you'd see that. And they're able to do that kind of previs or stunt work. So, often someone's building the set at one stage, while on the other side of the country, the stunt team is coordinating and trying to build out the sequence that they're then going to film on the set at some point. Well, they can build out the set in 3D now, so they can be against the blue screen, but they can say, okay, well, there's going to be a staircase there, there's a window there that you're going to crash through, and they can actually film it and send those dailies off to the, the director and say, this is what we're thinking and this is how we're going to lay it out. And it will, give them a real visual rather than just some people prancing around in front of a blue screen. And it helps the actors, it helps, the stunt people. So it's like a real tool that's just in your pocket. So yeah, it's got loads of uses, and there's all sorts of stuff we can do with it in the future.
So you mentioned you have a dinosaur on your desk, or you have a set of stairs or a helicopter over here.
Yeah.
Where do I get those three-dimensional objects?
Well, you can basically use any 3D object that you can find, and then Apple offer a utility, because it's a very Apple-centric product. They offer you a utility that converts those 3D models into a format called USD or USDZ, which is actually a Pixar-derived format that they created. Apple have adopted it for lots of the things they do on the iPhone. So you can just get a utility from Apple, and whatever 3D model you have, you kind of drag and drop it into that utility, and it'll change it into the file that you can use in our app.
Okay, that's great. So that means that there's a whole library or universe out there of already built 3D models
Absolutely.
that can be pulled into this.
And in fact, we've been using a lot of models from Unreal, from Epic's Unreal game engine. They have a whole store there, and that's another level that we're going to be going to with this app. So the people over at Epic and Unreal are amazing as well. We have great relationships over there, and they've been incredibly kind to us in helping us out all the way through building this app. And the idea is that at the moment we're rendering the dinosaur or the background as a non-final looking piece. It looks kind of a bit more like a video game, but it gives you the impression. But what we're going to be doing, hopefully in the next few months with the next version, and hopefully with help from Unreal themselves, is if you have a laptop around or a desktop running the full Unreal engine like they did in The Mandalorian, it will stream the backgrounds from that to your phone. So you actually get like real full quality live backgrounds on your phone behind your green screen elements. And this is where we start getting much closer to, The Mandalorian on your iPad. So yeah, we're kind of pushing the envelope a little bit in all sorts of different directions, but there's so much great technology out there because of companies like Apple and companies like Epic and Unreal.
Today's edition of MacVoices is supported by Clear. Get to the front of the line faster, safer, and touchless with Clear. It is finally happening. Things are opening up, and we are all going to be able to start moving around again. I know I'm anxious, and I bet you are too. And we all want to make the most of our upcoming travels and events, and for me, and I hope for you, that means using Clear. Clear lets you get through the slower parts of the airport and event venues by providing a frictionless journey through the security line. You are on your way to your gate or your seat faster and easier because of Clear, And that's exactly what you're looking for. All you need is your face or your eyes to get into airports, stadiums, and more. And not only is it quick to use, but it's also quick to get signed up. You can get started online, finish at the airport, and start using Clear right away to get to your flight sooner. I was using Clear before the lockdown started and loved it because it was easy and it really made a difference in my traveling. Now I'm anxious to use it again as I look forward to vacations, conferences, and all the other reasons that I may want to get out and go. Right now, for a limited time, you can get your first 2 months of Clear for free. Go to clearme.com/MacVoices and use the code MacVoices. That's clearme, CLEARME.com/MacVoices with the code MacVoices for your first 2 months of Clear for free. clearme.com/MacVoices and the code MacVoices. Thanks to Clear for their support of MacVoices. That struck me when you said that. You really are pushing this in every direction. It doesn't feel like it's a linear thing. It's like, well, we're pulling something from over here, we're pulling something from over here, then we're going to squeeze them together and then add this and take it from there. So where you could take this is almost, again, I'm not quite sure that it's going to go to Hollywood level, but yeah, it could, because we've seen plenty of things show up in Hollywood that we wouldn't have expected because of the power of the technology.
I think the aim of this over the next year is to make it, for Hollywood, a previz tool. It is for the on-set, testing things out, that you would go to the art department as the stunt coordinator and say, hey, can you give me a 3D model of, whatever the set is going to be for this big action sequence? And they chuck the 3D model over to you. And then as the stunt coordinator, you can visualize it when you're not on set and work with your team. So it won't be for the final film that you see on the screen in Hollywood, but it will have built towards that because there's a lot of tools that do that. But when it comes to outside of Hollywood, we're really, really influenced by the best creators on YouTube and the best around. I think a bunch of guys called Corridor Digital, Sam and Nico, and everyone should check out their channel because they are blurring the boundaries between what we always think is the hundreds of people and many, many months of work to put out a scene. They are able to do in a week with a team of 3 or 4 people working on it. And it's the way that they're going to use the app. They've inspired the app, if anything. They've said, look at the technology that's out there. We've got all this tracking ability. We've got cameras. We've got 3D being rendered off a gaming laptop that looks fantastic. Why is no one putting them all together? Because we would make great things with that. So it's kind of the inspiration from people like them. And then us as techie people going, you know what? They're quite right. Let's try and make that happen.
That's something that FXhome has done since I met you guys. It seems like I'm not sure whether you're driving your audience or your audience is driving you, or a little bit of both, because you have such a dedicated fan base and such an innovative fan base. And nobody is pretending that they are Hollywood or even have Hollywood aspirations. They just want to do what they want to do from a creative standpoint. And you all seem to embrace that relationship and keep taking it to different levels.
We're very, very lucky. I think the new users that use our software are amazing, and they bring with it the idea of, anything is possible, and they don't have any preconceptions of, well, that's going to take a long time, or that sounds complicated. They don't have that. So they don't demand, but they just ask for things. They're like, well, why can't we do this thing? And then we have all the alumni, the users that have gone on to work in Star Wars, Wonder Woman, Marvel, or be amazing YouTubers who they just inspire us. Every single time we watch their stuff, we're just like, how are these guys doing this? And they are technologists, they are filmmakers, and they go and they work out the nuts and bolts and they make it happen by hook or by crook. They just piece it together, and then it makes it a little bit easier for us to come in and go, well, they did that and it was really, really hard. How can we make it not so hard? Because that's the dream, isn't it? People want to be creative and they don't really want to have to battle with the tools. So hopefully we can come in and reduce the battle so that we can increase the creativity.
So let's talk about hardware. What do we need to be taking advantage of this?
Well, CamTrackAR will run on anything, I think, from an iPhone 6S onwards, but your mileage will vary. This is the same as loading up any AR app on that device. Apple have iterated on and improved the technology as the cameras have improved, as the gyroscopes and everything inside the devices have improved, the processing power has improved, and then the LiDAR. So if I was to take out my iPhone 12 Pro, I haven't got a purple one, they didn't give me one of the new ones or anything. If I was to take this out, this is a supremely awesome device for using it, as is the current, even before they're about to replace it, the current iPad Pro. So they both have the LiDAR scanner on them, which helps. If you're going to go a generation or two back, it's still very good. It's not as solid, but it's still very good, the tracking. But once you get down to an iPhone 6S, it's going to be, you're going to have more optimal conditions to make it work well. So yeah, I would say, the more modern your Apple hardware is, the better the results you're going to get.
I'm not even sure exactly how to ask this, but I know one of the big questions that seems to be coming out right now is with the iPad. Do I really need a 1 terabyte iPad? Do I need a 2 terabyte iPad? What kind of file sizes does this product and the results generate?
Well, they produce very small file sizes because on the video side, we're working with Apple at the moment to increase the resolution of the video because there are restrictions to the video while it's doing this tracking at the same time. The new iPad hopefully should be able to handle it, so they might make some changes there, but they're just going to be regular video files, and then the actual tracking data is fairly small compared to a video file. So yeah, I mean, I take a lot of videos. I always see that the iOS devices are, the ultimate thing in them is the utility of them. You can just use them, and I hate having to think about space when I'm using a device like that. I think I manage and maintain my space on my desktop or my laptop all the time. I'm like, oh, I don't need that anymore. I downloaded that and didn't use it. I'll put it in the bin. Whereas the iPhone, I always see as it's more of an expression of you and it connected to you. So you just pull it out and take photos. And I've always, from professional photographers that I've spoken to, the only thing I've really learned, because I'm not a very good photographer, is take loads of photos and hopefully one of them will be good. Just keep on clicking and there'll be the good one in there somewhere. So I think it's kind of the more storage. I would have the 1 terabyte one because I would want to just be able to record and not manage what I was doing and just take everything. But I can see why some people are surprised, because it is now really hard to go, well, is it a laptop? Is it an iPad? While at the same time, it's very clearly the best iPad that they've ever done. It's just got so powerful now. So yeah, right. It's but then I run out of storage all the time, so maybe I'm not the best example.
Well, I think you have a good excuse, though, Josh.
Yeah.
So same thing, sort of the same question, but I think you may have already answered it. What version of iOS is required to run this?
I think. I did actually know this one off the top of my head. I think 13 is the minimum, which I think is the one that goes back to the 6S.
Right.
I think, again, though, we're very lucky because it's a tool made for people that are in the kind of creative industries. It's very unlikely you're going to find a person in the creative industries that has a 6S iPhone. They're the ones that they got rid of 4 years ago, and they've had 3 different ones since then. So, we're very lucky that, a lot of people using this are going to be on the most modern hardware. We've had people getting rid of their iPhone 11s and getting iPhone 12s, 12 Pros, just to use the app, because they're just like, oh, the tracking is good on this, but I saw it on my friend's iPhone 12 Pro, so I'm just going to get one of those. It seems like a very expensive addition to what is actually a free app, going and buying a very expensive phone. But, it's a good phone.
Well, and you just said it right there. This everything we've been talking about. This is a free app. You can download it and absolutely play with it for nothing.
Yeah. So we have two. We do have a subscription inside it, but it is a free app because for Blender users and HitFilm users, both we have free versions of HitFilm, and it's our product and we love it. And Blender is an amazing community of 3D users, and it's a free product. We wanted to make sure that the tool was usable for these guys with no additional outlay, because that's part of the ethos and foundations of those communities, is that there is a free entry level into it, and you're not required to suddenly start paying out money to enjoy what you're doing. So that's why we have a free version. And then the version that works better with Adobe and other products, there's I think you can subscribe or buy outright some additional features that work with those apps, because if you're paying Adobe, we'd like to be able to fund the development of the app. So hopefully you wouldn't mind funding that as well.
Well, hopefully.
Yes. Let's hope so. Fingers crossed.
I mean, it would just make sense. I know we seem to have this conversation constantly that free is great, and I love the fact that you have a free option out there so that I can decide whether this is for me or not. But ongoing, the development of this stuff takes money to create these tools, and so you should fund them. And I'm kind of glad to hear that there is an option there that I can help fund you if this is something I'm going to use.
It's really hard for software developers in what is a niche of a niche here. We're making an app that, as cool as we think it is never going to have 10 million people come and download and buy it, because it's not made for 10 million people. It's made for 10,000 people to love it, rather than for 10 million people to fire and forget. So, it's really, really hard with the prices that people are becoming accustomed to, especially when loads of those prices, and we're part of that, it's completely free, to justify having a team. We're a small team, it's 25, 26 people. That's a very large overhead to being able to develop software. And that wasn't 25, 26 people working on this app, but we wouldn't have even been able to begin working on this app if we didn't make all the other software that we make, which does require 25, 26 people doing support and just, running an office and all of those kind of things. So we love that there are free products out there. But if you just look at Blender, they got a 1 million mega grant from Unreal. They got 500,000 from somewhere else. It's not that they are doing it and it's not costing them money to do it. They are funded in different ways. But yeah, making software costs money, and I think a fair product for a fair price, if you can do that, then you're in a good place.
And if there was ever a model for that philosophy, it has to be FXhome, because of the communities you've built, the tools you've built, and the communities and tools you continue to build and evolve and grow. It's phenomenal.
I have an amazing team. I think I said before, Chuck, I have an absolutely amazing team. And even when I'm having a day when I'm not doing fun, creative stuff, I can go and see the stuff that they're doing and be blown away by it, because they're some of the smartest people around, and they do great work.
So the website, of course, we want to make sure you mentioned the website, but also where else should folks go to see some of this?
Well, the App Store itself, Apple's App Store, if you go on there and search for CamTrack, so CamTrackAR as one word, it will come up there. There'll be some different bits, and you can try it out for free, particularly if you're going to use it with the free version of FitFilm or Blender. So yeah, it's there. Or they can go to fxhome.com, so the letter F, the letter X, and then the word home, HOME.com. And then it's on the apps page there, you can see CamTrackAR for iOS, and that's got some information about it there. There's manuals, there's all sorts of things.
And while you're there, folks, make sure you check out HitFilm. Make sure you check out everything that FXhome is doing, because it all fits together and it's all amazing, outstanding work. If you have any creative bent, this is a company and these are products you should know. No question about it.
That's very kind of you. We have loads we still want to do as well. We're just getting started. After 20 years, we're just getting started.
Oh, good. Well, then I hope to see you back here a whole lot to keep us updated, because it's always exciting, always exciting. And I hope, hope against hope that we get to, well, maybe not shake hands, but bump fists or something in Las Vegas in October for NAB.
That would be incredibly exciting. I get married just before then as well, so it's going to be a bit of a ride the rest of this year. But Not in Vegas, might I add.
Well, I was going to say that you could combine it and then you could write off the trip. That would make sense.
Yeah, don't let the tax man hear you say that. I don't know about that.
don't let your fiance hear me say that.
Yeah,
I may be in trouble. Well, congratulations on the upcoming wedding. That's
thank
great.
you very much. Yes, I can't wait. Hopefully all of that is going to go ahead as planned.
That's great. That's great. Well, come back and tell us about what FXhome is doing next, or just come back and tell us about your wedding.
Well, absolutely. Yes, I'll be happy to. We've got loads of stuff going on this year, so we'll make sure you're in the know about all of that.
Excellent, excellent. This may be the first AR-enabled wedding. I'm not sure. But...
yeah, dinosaurs, the helicopter,
Yeah, exactly. Josh, thank you so much for the time. It's great to talk to you.
Thanks for having me.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. Go check this out. Everything FXhome makes is exciting. This is just extra exciting because it adds a whole new dimension to any projects that you may have been thinking about or dreaming about. You may now be able to accomplish them with this tool. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.